This is Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, a weekly podcast for game show enthusiasts. Episode number 18, A Fool's Errand, recorded April 16th, 2016. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage. Thank you so much for joining us again. My name is Torgo, and let's find out who's joining us this week.
Hi, I'm Jordan, aka Unique Perspective, and I'm kind of hoping for a surprise 420 special coming up this week.
Hi, my name's Tristan, aka Tris, and I'm hoping that, well, somebody calls me. I don't know.
Okay.
I am Jason, aka JJMan920, and I want to say happy birthday to Pick a Pear. Nobody loves you, but I do.
And I'm Nick, and I'm not really celebrating much.
Aw.
But in addition to these four fine chaps, we have an additional person in the call because through the power of social media and the internet, we were able to find out the winner of the April Fool's Day contest, where they, as you may recall, on April 1st, they had all the mistakes on the show. On the 7th or 8th, they released the video showcasing all the mistakes. There were 49 of them according to the show. And then the show reached out, contacted the person who had the most, who won the trip to Costa Rica, and we're having him on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us. Without further ado, let's introduce the winner of the April Fool's Day contest.
Hi. Me.
JJ won!
Yay!
Yay!
Which is interesting for a couple different reasons. First and foremost, not to discount JJ's win, JJ did not have all the mistakes, which means no one did. And I think the mistake that caught everybody is the one, because we definitely worked on it together a little bit. And I think the mistake that all of us did not catch is the back wall behind the audience having the pattern of those blue tiles going in the opposite direction during one of the come on downs that George did. And I checked other shows after that. They've had different patterns where they swipe down, they swipe to the left. Apparently they've never had a swipe to the right, so I guess it's different enough, but still, I thought that was interesting. So, when did the show contact you, JJ, about winning the contest?
They contacted me. As per their rules, they actually did contact me on time. They contacted me on Monday the 11th. And I just hadn't checked my email until Wednesday the 13th. So
Getting it close.
When?
Yeah, I only had 3 days to respond. So.
Oh, you got lucky. How much time do you have to take the trip? I know it's a 9-day trip, but you have to take it by a certain period of time.
I'm still waiting on information about that because all I had to do right now is just give the person that contacted me my information, and now they've given that information to the prize fulfillment department, and so now I'm waiting on either an email or a phone call from them.
And we've talked about this a bit. You haven't really dealt with the Costa Rica end of it at all. You've dealt with mostly the prize staffer, isn't that right?
Yes.
Are you excited to go to Costa Rica for 9 days?
I kind of am. I'm a little apprehensive. I would have liked a cruise, but I can't complain since it's a free trip. And someone found the itinerary for a trip that they use, and if it's the same trip, it looks like it's going to be a really nice trip. So,
how many people have you told? I mean, obviously we know, and everyone listening to this knows, but I mean, like, does your job know? Does your family know? How is there a restriction on how many people you can tell? Similar to how when I was a contestant on The Price is Right, I couldn't really tell anybody for like 2 months until the show actually aired.
I wasn't told not to tell people, but I was until I actually like talked to the prize people. I only told my mom, my brother, my father, and whoever my mom wants to tell. So maybe the whole family knows. I don't know.
Well, if I don't know JJ's mother, but if she's a standard mother, if your mom knows, half of your town knows now.
Even though JJ has a pretty big town.
This is true. But we talked about this a little bit on episode 17, which ended up reversed somehow online. I'm not sure how that happened, but talking about the April Fool's Day mistakes, we caught some mistakes that the show did not count as mistakes, which I thought was particularly interesting. One that comes to mind offhand is when they had the living room group, they had cups in the cup holders. One of the cups did not match.
Is it possible, because we were talking about this before, do you think that some of these mistakes might have actually just been genuine mistakes from the show as opposed to an April Fool's mistake?
But see, that's the risk you have to take. If you're going to have a
Yeah.
show where you're having players at home pick out mistakes, you have to be flawless in every other aspect of the show.
That's exactly what I said last week. Like, if you're, well, not last week, but the episode 17, I was like, if you're going to do this, you're going to make this a thing about finding mistakes, well, then you can't have extra mistakes that aren't mistakes in the show.
You can't have like Drew did on Friday, where he said that 65 beats a 65 in the Showcase Showdown.
Yeah. Did you have mistakes on your form that weren't on the official list, JJ? Or
Yeah, I had, I had like 56 mistakes, and they only ended up being 49. So
I thought it was
clearly-
amazing that they didn't consider the Yodely guy having a brand new prop as a mistake. That blows my mind.
Yeah, they only talked about him being backwards and not the fact that, his shirt was unbuttoned. He was holding his axe with one hand. I felt like they did all those things on purpose, but they didn't mention them.
Then you also get something like the "that's too much" thing, where we were debating whether the odd spacing in the first number actually was an error or not. And even though it looked different, somehow it wasn't a mistake. So
And I also thought that I thought George's call down box was almost exclusively in the left-hand corner of the show when they call people down, but I guess it's not, because it was in the right-hand corner, and that wasn't a mistake. And I think somebody told me that they do switch from time to time. So
Well, that's what makes it tricky, though, is the contest is geared towards people that watch the show every single day. If you went online to the Facebook page, you'd be like, you see comments of people that go something along the lines of, I feel really good about this contest. I found all the mistakes. I have 12 of them. And I'm just sitting there like, no.
that's cute.
How are you submitting your entry? Finger paint?
No, 2 fingers paint. But no, I mean, I think the thing that's interesting is that I'm just talking about this, that they don't necessarily penalize you for finding mistakes that aren't mistakes. They don't necessarily penalizing you for having a precise list. They just award you for finding the mistakes, even if you had, say, 100 fake mistakes. Although that would be insane if someone wrote like a list of like 150 mistakes.
There's no way to do it. I'm sure that they're not going to pay anybody to sit there and crank out the numbers. I wish there was a way that we could figure out how many people found each mistake. Which one was the most frequently cited, which one was the least frequently cited. That would be an interesting amount. And then how many people put mistakes that weren't on the show. I bet you a bunch of people said, mistake number 1, Bob Barker's not hosting.
Man, when it comes to picking out or finding out what the most cited mistake was, I mean, honestly, if you didn't cite door number 1 as a mistake, I don't know what to tell you, since Drew definitely told you that was a mistake.
yeah, he outright mentioned it.
So do you think the fact that Drew mentioned it would actually make people forget about it because it was a mistake actually noted?
I suppose that's plausible.
I didn't like that they had like 10 of the 49 mistakes be the on-air graphics. That just seemed like, okay, we're just going to do the same thing over and over again.
Well, it gets
I mean-
people to notice when they leave.
I feel like 49 for an hour-long show is actually kind of low. It's not absurdly high. Like, I think a lot of us, when we did this, had close to 60 on our list. And I felt like that was a solid number, 30 per half hour.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, to that point, I think when we were first discussing this, I don't think any of us thought they would actually be doing this many. I think we thought they would be doing like 10, 15, 20 to kind of make it so that everybody could catch all the mistakes. Nope.
Well, it's because I'm sure they wanted to keep it high because they, if there was a tie, which I'm assuming that there was one, because I'm assuming people had the same number of mistakes I had, they did a drawing for who is the winner. So I'm assuming they wanted to perhaps make it so that the drawing wasn't as big as it was, because who knows how they do the drawing. They might put everybody's name into a hat or something and say, okay, staffer, you pick out a name. This will be the winner of the
because
contest.
from the official list of 49, how many were you missing? 1, 2?
I was missing 2.
Right. Because you missed the back wall, which we all missed, and there was one that you missed that I know I had.
Well, there was one I had, but I forgot to put it down on the sheet that I sent in, and that was the model swap for the item up for bid. We saw it. I was like, oh, look at that. How could we all miss that the first time? And I was like, oh, that's great. And I didn't put it in the notepad file, had everything else written in. And then, Friday comes around, deadline day comes around, and I'm like, oh, let me hurry up and send this because it's 11 o'clock. And I just copy and paste and I send it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't put the model swap in there. And that's why I was like, oh, I probably didn't win.
Which brings up an interesting point. A, are you surprised that you won with not having all the mistakes? And B, do you think the show expected someone to win that didn't spot them all?
I think the show did expect them to win for a person who didn't spot them all, because I think they knew that they put some definitely esoteric ones in there.
There were definitely some that were easy to miss, like Llama Bay or the one bid cards. They weren't all obvious.
Bid cards. I mentioned it, but then I looked back at the other shows, and they had different color ones. So I was like, okay, that's not a mistake, and they counted it as a mistake.
Somehow.
Do you think that might have been somewhat intentional to have a mistake or non-mistake that would trip up people who overanalyze? Or do you think they're just not thinking
Yes.
They didn't want everybody to catch everything, because honestly, they don't really want to go through all those lists. They probably just looked at people's lists, and if they only had like 30, they just tossed that in the trash and just looked for somebody who had like at least 40, and those are the ones that they looked at further.
Mhm.
I mean, they're not going to look at an entry seriously when they have 9 mistakes on their card, you know? But how many mistakes did you catch out of the 49?
Tris, you attended this live. Were there mistakes on the video that you did not catch live?
Oh yeah, there were quite a few. Like, I think one of the bigger ones was definitely the model swap, because I don't think they had them switch on air. I think it was more, they had one model doing it and then maybe had to pick up later with the other model doing it, because they've done those a lot. And yeah, I mean, there were a lot of little things, like I missed the hands and some of them were more obvious, like the pushover hands or the blue grand tags, because you're just trying to focus on the contestants a lot, especially when you see someone from your section playing. And yeah, it's a lot harder to focus on the mistakes when you're trying to follow the contestants as well.
Did they film, or did you see them film both Amber and Rachel model that luggage, or did you only see one?
It was a dishwasher.
They probably did both, because they usually during the breaks they do pickups for like the prize reveals for like the new car or the one bid. So it wouldn't surprise me if we had one for the regular one bid and then we had to pick up with the other model.
And I can attest to the fact that during my tapings, during the breaks in between the games, Drew's talking to the audience. They're doing a lot of pickups, and honestly, it's very hard to pay attention to that because Drew's engaging the audience. So they may have very well done that in view, just no one was paying attention.
Yeah.
But again, let us know in the comments section how many mistakes out of the 49 you caught. And did you think that there were any mistakes that they did not count as mistakes on the show? We're going to talk a little bit about 2 pricing games, actually. The first one is, again, it's another, you don't see anybody talking about this because a forum member mentioned this in particular because he managed to go to the taping of the nighttime special.
Also, should we consider this a slight spoiler alert?
Yes, this is a spoiler alert, so if you do not want to hear about something changing on the show, turn away now. And then I guess I'm going to have to do a shing. Here's where you can turn back in. So
Cue that dice graphic
3,
again, even though this isn't a dice game.
1. One of the games is getting a set update that we happen to know about beforehand, and the game is It's in the Bag, which is getting a new paint scheme. It has these pastel colors right now with the pink and the green and the lilac color. According to a forum member who was at the taping for one of the the nighttime specials, is changing to blue and orange. I'm sure it looks fine, but I'm not sure how that will look compared to the rest of the set, because blue and orange is as far as we know, and obviously there are different tints of that would greatly change how the game looks. Do you think It's in the Bag needed a paint scheme change?
No. That's it. No, but no. I mean, I think the color scheme worked fine enough with sort of how the rest of the prop looks, and I think It's in the Bag is a game where I think you want a noticeable color scheme, but you don't want one that would necessarily distract you. And I guess I'm a little bit afraid that the blue and orange would just be so much of a clash from, say, the $16,000 reveal behind the door that it could.
Which they said is not changed. That's still
Right.
purple and green.
Right, and that's what gets me wondering that if they're not changing that, I'm afraid that the blue and orange could be a distraction in the long run.
I get why they did it. I haven't seen a picture. You can't take pictures of the set. It's in the Bag looks fine, but the rest of the set is so vibrant and so bold now. The pastel colors do kind of clash a little bit, and it looks out of place. And I know that It's in the Bag is one of the few games on the show that has not had any real touch-up or change made to its set. I think Freeze Frame is another one that they haven't really changed anything. To Pay the Rent hasn't had all the new... Even Rat Race, which debuted, 6 years ago? That's had a change. The color of the board is different now. So I feel like they're just on a mission for HD at least, to touching up every game on the show, because they started doing this 3 or 4 years ago, right when the HD conversions became mandatory.
So,
Didn't they change the banner though for the 16,000?
I feel like just slapping some paint on a set, because the banner's huge. It takes up the size of the whole door. So I feel like maybe that's something they're going to do, but maybe they did it and they didn't like how it looked on camera, so they just went back to the old one.
Right, but
Perhaps.
you mentioned that you think the games are touching up. I feel like switching color schemes entirely is a lot more than a touch-up, as opposed to, as you say, slightly changing the color of the Rat Race board. And I wonder, because they're changing a color scheme entirely, is their agenda a little bit more than just touching up a game?
I mean, there's no way to tell since this is all based on conjecture and we haven't seen the game yet, so who knows how it looks? Maybe there is more to the change than we've heard. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to think of why they would make it orange and blue of all colors instead of, green and purple. Maybe just different shades of that. I understand the need to change from the pastels, though.
perhaps someone on the set is a huge fan of Syracuse. And now we've got
It better not be.
Syracuse in the bag. I mean, so you got to look at it to see for real exactly how it looks. When you hear the colors orange and blue together, it just, I don't know, something about it doesn't mesh well. And so you're pretty sure it's going to end up looking great because you got high definition and, you've got a professional crew at CBS. But to hear those colors without seeing it definitely sounds off.
Well, my first thought when I heard that, when I heard orange and blue, I thought It's in the Bag will now look like every movie poster ever. Go online and just type in orange and blue movie poster, and you'll see over 50% of the movies have color palettes with that. But I was trying to think of any other pricing game that had a blue and orange color palette, and off the top of my head, I can't. Maybe Shopping Spree. That's a
Most
stretch.
expensive, kind of.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
yellow. That's yellow.
Well,
I know there's orange
orange
trim.
in the set,
There's
but
Yeah,
orange.
the orange trim. Yeah.
that's more of a tricolor thing, though. That's not necessarily the orange and blue just on their own.
True. But see, I like the new most expensive set.
I do too.
Oh, I love it. Please.
Yeah.
I like the fact that most expensive has a set now.
And I'll
And a
be one to
logo.
say that, and a logo, and I'll be the one to say that this is my favorite, most expensive set in the entire history of the show. I did not like any of the most expensive sets. Maybe the one that shared a set with 5 price tags, but even then, I didn't like that much.
So yeah, it does look great now, and I agree with you. But it makes me wonder what other games would be due for a touch-up then if they haven't done anything. Freeze because they see it so often. I don't think Easy as 1-2-3 has had any work done to it since it debuted. I don't think That's Too Much has had anything since it debuted.
Dice Game?
A Dice Game has certainly had its fair share of changes. The board
Touch-ups,
used to be
yeah.
white. It used to be 4 digits.
If I know this is a relatively young game, but I can't recall That's Too Much ever having many changes.
It doesn't. But say what you will about That's Too Much, the color palette that it has now doesn't really clash with the show, so maybe they're not going to do anything with that for a while. The only thing I could see them doing is changing the prices so that instead of having Trilons that flip over, it would be like a computer monitor. 10 different little
Maybe.
ones.
I mean, I don't know if it will function the show to go 100% digital. I mean, certain digital elements I think work very well, but I think if the show goes 100% digital, then I think it loses a certain old school charm that I think can fit daytime and what will probably be an older demographic.
Until we come across the day where Hole in One is this where people are putting on like a gunmetal gray surface with like diamond plating on it. I don't think we have to worry too much about the show steering towards a new school aesthetic that much.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But that's enough about It's in the Bag. The other game is Cliffhangers, because Cliffhangers had its own show on April 12th where it celebrated its 40th anniversary, although not to the same extent that Plinko got last year. They only played Cliffhangers once. It was just for a car, not even a particularly fancy car, just a standard, $20,000 car. And unfortunately, Contestant didn't play it all that well. Do you think that, considering how much they devoted to Plinko, 6 playings of Plinko, that they should have given Cliff 6 playings of Cliff in that show in addition to the showcases? Or do you feel that them only using once isn't so much them not caring as it is trying to learn from their mistakes from the first time?
I mean, I think watching the Plinko special last year or 2 years ago, I think we eventually all got a little sick of it by the second or third playing. So I don't necessarily mind that they just played it once. I guess my problem is that it wasn't really a special. It was just them saying, "Oh, we have a special birthday," and they were talking about the only guy in Cliffhangers, and then a couple of showcases. I feel like they did more for Groundhog Day than they did for Cliffhangers, and that really surprises me.
For the show itself, I think it was a fine Cliffhangers episode. I think playing it for a car is special enough, and having the Yoli guy hold the 40th birthday balloons is fine. I think having the showcases dedicated to Cliffhangers is fine. I think my biggest problem I have with it is that we didn't need to hype it up so much. I think if we just have it as it just comes to the day and Drew says, "Oh, a cast member's having a birthday," and we go through the regular show, I think it would be seen as a nice gesture. But I think with the promo, I think people are expecting something more special than what we got.
Yeah, there was definitely no need to put together a 20-second promo showing everybody celebrating and all this stuff for a regular playing of the game with some balloons and the showcases. I think that was a very fine thing to do, but it wasn't worthy of the promotion that they gave it. I mean, they pretty much did almost the exact same thing for Flip Flop. They played the game, and then they had a showcase about the game, and that didn't get a special. I mean, or a promo. And I know Flip Flop is Flip Flop. It's somebody's favorite game. Well, every game is someone's favorite, but it's not at the level that Cliffhangers. It's not at the level of Cliffhangers, but still, I mean, there's so much more they could have done with this show that they didn't do. Like, for example, they could have. I mean, I wouldn't have minded an all Cliff show because unlike Plinko, you could play Cliff for anything, and it wouldn't come off as kind of awkward trying to find a way to play Cliff for everything. But they also could have played the original lineup that Cliff premiered on, because all of the games are still in the rotation and are easily available to play. They could have done that. They could have had a fun little look back over the history of cliffhangers. Like, they only showed the clip of the first playing of cliffhangers, but cliffhangers had some pretty memorable moments in its time. They could have showed the person who bid $300 on a toy guitar in the game. Like, that's a reasonable guess. Or that time that Duff Goldman came in and they played the game on a cake. Like, there was so much they could have done that they really just didn't. They just said, it's 40 years old, and that was it.
Do you think that it's something the show wanted to do, or do you think it's something that the network made the show do?
I'm pretty sure that, for instance, I'm pretty sure CBS would not be contacting Price is Right to say, for example, oh, do a random Pi Day special, or oh, do a random Leap Day special.
Calling the Pi Day thing a special is a stretch at best.
It was more of a special than the Cliffhangers episode. They had a freaking Pi Day graphic on door number 4.
It's true, and I agree with you. I don't think CBS is telling them to do anything. They're doing this because they want to do it, but I just thought that they didn't put their full heart into it, and it may be because, you know, this is April and the season, they stopped taping in April. The season's ending in June. Perhaps they couldn't go as much as they want to all out because they were sort of limited by a budget, especially since I don't know where the primetime budget money is coming from. I was hoping that would be its own budget, but if it isn't and they have to just take 3 regular shows and convert those into primetime shows, then maybe they just didn't have the resources or the money to say, all right, let's go all out, let's do all Cliff, let's do fancy cars and some of that. But even then, again, I think there were some things that wouldn't have cost much that they could have done.
I don't even mind the specials that the show has all that much, and there are a lot of them. But if you're going to have a special, you know, do it. Don't just say it's a special and then have like 5 minutes worth of special material and have the rest be, you know, a generally forgettable show. And that's the best word I would use to describe the Cliff special is, honestly, forgettable. Other than it is Cliffhanger's 40th year being on the show, I can't really remember anything about what happened on the show.
The only thing I can truly remember is that the person playing the game blew it. So.
Yeah. What was it? She said like $80 on the last prize. And
yeah, it just didn't end well.
But that's just, you can plan perfectly for a spectacular show, and it can all come crumbling down depending on the contestants. And that is something that's inherent with the show, is that you can't plan everything in a game show. That's what makes the genre so interesting, is the spontaneity of people who really, they're wild cards. There's no controlling what they're going to say or do, whether they're going to win. I mean, you can control the wins and losses for an extent, but the contestant has to genuinely, you know, do something in order for that to happen.
Although, if you plan a special where the only factor that makes it good or bad is if the playing of Cliffhangers is won, then you need to do more planning of your special, because, as you said, you can't control that, and that shouldn't be the only source of, like, special entertainment on a special episode.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like the Cliffhangers special? Do you think that they didn't go far enough? Leave a comment and let us know what you think. Before we wrap things up, I know that JJ, because it's all about JJ today apparently, found some more information about the pyramid tapings that I thought would be interesting to share with everyone.
Yeah, it's just one of the game show websites, game show forums. Some people there have gone to the pyramid tapings that they've had so far, and while we don't know much, apparently it will air in June, a part of ABC's Sunday Fun Day. If we know anything, we know that ABC knows how to market a night of the week. And Pyramid will be a full hour with 2 30-minute games back to back. So just consider it 2 episodes of Pyramid. That's what you'll end up seeing. And apparently it's pretty faithful to how the $100,000 Pyramid originally worked, sans perhaps a 7-Eleven.
Do we have a date for that?
No date, just June.
June. Sundays. All of them.
Yes, all of them.
Okay,
And,
you're going to a taping as well in a couple of days, right?
I will be going to a taping on the 17th of April.
Because that's what you're doing this month is just watching tons and tons of tapings because you just did a whole bunch of Jeopardy tapings too.
Yes, I just watched Jeopardy last Saturday and Sunday.
Power Players, is that the one you went to?
I went to Power Players from Saturday and the semifinals of the Teachers Tournament on Sunday.
So you just have all sorts of fun stuff, and we'll delve more into those when those episodes actually air.
Yes.
Is there anything else that anyone wants to bring to everyone's attention before we go ahead and end the episode?
Not much.
Anyone else wants to?
I mean, I'm usually the one that comes up with these last minute things to say. And, besides a philosophical debate we can have on Wheel at some point in the future, I don't want to drag the episode down, but, that's for the question is, though, in the speed up round, if you fill in, if your last turn fills in the final consonants of the puzzle, should the show tell you that there are no more vowels left while it's still your turn, or should they wait till the next person's turn to tell them that there are no more vowels in the puzzle?
What? No.
See, that's why I was like, I'm not. That's not. Besides that, I don't like the sound that they make when they tell you that there's no more vowels in the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
I'm seriously explaining this. This past Thursday, a contestant called the final consonant in the puzzle. The puzzle was dinner party. They had everything filled. I'm sorry, the puzzle was dinner date. Dinner date. They had everything filled in except for the I and the E in dinner and the A and the E in date. The contestant called the D and it filled in, and she guessed something like dumb,
Dinner
like
duty?
dinner duty, and it was pretty obvious that it was dinner date and she didn't know it. But then her turn ended, they went to the next person, then they told the next person there were no more vowels, and you could immediately see that the previous contestant, once they heard that sound, realized what the puzzle was because they heard that there weren't any more vowels left. And it's a discussion of whether or not they should wait until the next person's turn to reveal that there are no more vowels in the puzzle, a critical piece of information that could help someone solve, or if they should give it to the person who just called the last letter.
I mean, I'd say.
But then why'd you mention speed up round if you're talking about turns? Okay.
I mean, it is in the speed up round
Yes.
that it happened in.
Okay, that was my fault. I confused speed up and toss up in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm a staff member on a Wheel of Fortune site, everybody. Good job.
I mean,
That was
this
a
is the
discussion.
first time it's happened this season where somebody's called all the consonants and to find out, oh, there's only vowels left. We had one person this season where it got to her turn, she called a consonant, and Pat said there's only vowels left in the puzzle right after her, even though when we already got to her, there were only vowels. So I definitely think they'd need to, after the person calls a letter, they should sound the no more vowels, no more consonants sound.
They definitely need to, I think, tell them that they need to tell the previous contestant that there are no more vowels or no more consonants left in the puzzle, because I think that's a critical piece of information to help them win. And someone argued if it's going turn by turn, then it's not that person's turn to know that there aren't any more vowels left, that it's the next person's turn. But I just feel like under normal circumstances, that person would still have their turn anyway. So I think it's still important, pertinent information to reveal to the person whose turn it still is. Under normal circumstances, they're going to tell you as soon as you call it in a regular round. They're going to tell you as soon as you call the last consonant that was the last consonant. That should be the same here.
How did a random clip from Jake turn into a segment longer than the pyramid segment?
I don't know. Never mind the fact that you could have an entire debate on a speed up round only having six consonants worth of money available to a contestant. 2 D's, 2 N's, a T, and an R, but
that's also
another debate.
That's also another debate for another time.
JJ, I have a question before we wrap up.
Yes.
Which one of us are you taking to Costa Rica?
Well, surprisingly enough, depending on who I might take someone named Jordan. It just won't be you.
Now I suddenly have to move to Maryland, gain a ton of weight, and somehow look like your brother.
So yes, you might be there in spirit.
Okay.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for this episode. Again, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more episodes of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage. Until then, on behalf of everyone else, this is Torgo. We will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, part of the Torgo Entertainment Network. For more episodes of Contestants Not Appearing on Stage, check us out on YouTube or online at CNAOScast.net.
Thanks for tuning in to JJ Not Appearing on Stage. For more fun, go to torgoentertainment.com/JJ.
Am I going to have to make that now?
Right? Like, how's that gonna work?
But no, and about that weight comment, for some reason I thought looking at that picture, I thought Jordan was big too. I didn't know if that's true or
I
not.
mean, he's certainly bigger than you are.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Yeah, that's the only reason I said the gaining weight comment, because I thought I saw a picture of Jordan and I thought he was pretty big, but.
I mean, never mind the fact that you'd also have to, don some blackface to pass.
I mean, I didn't want to make that comment on that episode.
Nothing's wrong with joking about blackface via audio. They can't see anything.
Yeah, but people can hear my voice. Oh, by the way, everybody, my name is Adam Moss.
I mean, it's not like this is an episode of Amos and Andy or anything. We're all good people.
What is Amos and Andy?
Amos and Andy was a show about...
Wow, I feel old.
Yeah, right? Amos and Andy was a show about... it was like a sitcom on radio about two black guys just, doing black people stuff. I don't know. But the thing is that for the longest time on its entirety in radio, those two black guys were played by two white people.
In other words, it's the old school opposite white chicks.
Yeah. Except much, much more racist.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's a fine show. It's funny, but it's also like kind of racist.
Wasn't really a lot of stuff from like the 50s kind of racist back then.
Before that time, though.
It was the 40s, 30s, 40s. Definitely. Like that one bit.
We can just, we'll save the blackface bit for the next episode. It'll be a very interesting introduction. Hey, welcome back to Contestants Not Appearing on Stage.
Right?
Thank you so much for joining me here. My name is Tor Gizzle. But how many mistakes did you catch out of the 49? Is the video still up?
They put on their official YouTube page.
Yeah, that's where you can find the mistakes video. As I accidentally hit the space bar at that when I said that, because I did a finger flick when I talk with my hands, because that's the Mediterranean in me, and I hit the space bar and that stopped the recording.
Yay.
But it started again, so we're okay.
Where do we stop at?
Are we back on it?
Yeah, we're back on air. I just it stopped right when I was talking about is the video still online, but I caught Tris saying that it was on the website, so we're good.
Yeah.
And this in particular because he managed to go to the taping of the nighttime special, and that is that I'm at the phone line. Keep on topic.
Yeah,
It's me for the marketer wanting to call mid-podcast.
Well, first off, unfortunately, you can't silence your landline. But second of all, shame on a telemarketer for calling at 10:30 on a Saturday. Get a life.
They are persistent.